Hello, I'm Navya Chiruta, and I'm here with Hilary to do a podcast.
Hi, I'm Cadet Colonel Hilary Nguyen, the 2022-2023 group commander. So, I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so today we're going to go over basically Hilary's life for the past year and just get a bunch of tips for school.
I'm scared. Okay, what's your first question?
Okay, so do you want to go over your stats and then how you got into pharmacy from there?
Okay, so, stats. I'm a first generation student. I got all A's except for that one B in chemistry. The second semester, and it still hurts me, but it's okay. Let's see, SAT, the first time I did it was like a 1420, and then the second time I did it was a 1540. And that's the importance of studying, because you can get that up really high. The ACT was, I did it once, and it was a 35 out of 36. What else counts in stats?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. I feel like there's more, because I always see more, but I can't remember anything else off the top of my head of what would apply.
I guess like your GPA,
Oh,
grades.
I don't remember my GPA off the top of my head. Unweighted, it should be like a 3.98, and then weighted is like a 4 point something. Like it's
a solid 4.4 and above.
Yeah. 4 point something is really, really helpful, but
Very.
yeah.
No, just watch your calculator, just be popping up on the screen.
Yeah, I can send it to you after. Like Navya will just put a little thing.
So how did you get into pharmacy?
Okay, so first off, it was my parents. So they told me, starting in like 8th or 9th grade, they're like, you should do pharmacy. It pays well, and it's like a pretty like fun thing. And I was like, okay, cool, that sounds cool. So that's where I started, and then I took honors chemistry junior year, and I was like, yeah, this is really fun. So I definitely wanted to do something in chemistry, and also pharmacy. I mean, I'm willing to go into like pharmaceuticals, pharmacology, so like the making of drugs and like the drug companies and stuff, but something about pharmacy, like, you know, you think of like the people at CVS, it's a harrowing job. You're like getting hounded by all these people demanding for their medications, but the customer service aspect and like the people aspect of it is really nice, and also just like being able to organize and keep track of everything. The hardest math I think I'll have to do on a daily basis is literally just addition and multiplication as I count the pills to put it in like the little bottles. But I mean, I like math, so not a big issue for me. But yeah, so basically I really like chemistry, so yeah.
No trigonometry.
No trig. Trig hurts me.
Okay, so what did you do regarding apps?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna advise you guys to not do what I did, because I started the applications 2 to 3 weeks before the deadline. So if I was lucky, it would be like a month before the deadline. But yeah, you should start them earlier. What I would suggest is, what I wish I did was start researching now, so you know what colleges you want, and then narrow it down over the summer. Start writing the Common App essays. The essays that you need are typically like a why us, why major, why career essay, and that one would be, for me, like I wrote about wanting to do pharmacy and the book that got me interested in, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely really cool, I want to learn more about drugs. I wrote about that, and then just changed the like name of the major and like the specifics of what that school had. Like different schools have different research programs that you can get in either as like a freshman or maybe starting your sophomore year, something like that. That's the first essay. So you can basically like use the same like format. Like for me, it should be, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but that essay should be basically the same over and over, with just why us being different, but why specifically you're going into that major or that career, like whatever you have in mind should be like concrete, because if you can't write that paper or like that essay, that means you don't really know yourself, and you have to reconsider what it is you want. Obviously, like if you're undecided, that's a different story, and I don't really have any tips there just off the top of my head. But yeah, that's the first one. The second one would be like a challenge. The second one would be a challenge. So anything that you feel like you have not necessarily suffered, it doesn't have to be like a pity story, but just learned something from it. So for me it was driving, because I was very scared of driving for the longest time. I like put it off for forever, and the fact that I did it in a very short amount of time after, I was just like, nope, this is, I'm doing this now. I got that courage, I completed everything super quickly, and then got zero mistakes on the
Slay.
exactly, like on the actual exam. That showed to me that I didn't have to be afraid, and that if I am afraid, it's okay, but it's up to me to take that like step anyway. So that's what I wrote about. There's also stuff about teamwork and leadership, and and then diversity. So these ones I used RO as my like kind of main talking point, and there's like another one that I am blanking out on, another type of essay. Oh, creativity or joy or like free time. So that one I wrote about journaling, because I didn't know. So yeah, those are the main ones. If you can get like a good base, you don't have to have it like perfect or anything.
Yeah.
Literally just as long as you start, because that gives you something to work off of. I don't know, look at it every 2 weeks, and then you'll have new ideas, you'll be able to revise it. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time, just literally sit down for even 30 minutes just to write something over the summer, like starting in June, so that you have somewhere to start and you're not like starting from scratch when the school year comes around.
Okay. Do you want to talk about how you got waitlisted at UCSD?
Oh yes, so UCSD was my dream school, right? So I wanted to go there because they have a 7-year pharmacy program. If I got in during my freshman year, then I would be guaranteed admission to their pharmacy school, and that would cut off 1 year instead of taking the traditional like 4 years undergrad, 4 years graduate school. In pharmacy school, it's like a graduate school, right?
Yeah.
It would cut off 1 year, and it would be helpful. I would be staying here with my parents. But unfortunately that did not happen. So yeah, I'm honestly kind of glad that it didn't, because I don't know that I would have considered other like opportunities if I had gotten it. Like I got into UC Berkeley as well, but I mean, I think I applied just to apply because I have heard negative things about the environment around the school, so I am not sure that I would go, even if like if that was like my, you know, like if I didn't go to Brown, right? Yeah, but I don't think that I would have considered any other option really if I had gotten into UCSD. And I think for me, it's not like a straight up rejection, but essentially a rejection, taught me was, I think I need to be away from my family for a little bit. As much as that pains me to say, and it probably pains my parents, I hope they're not watching, I have been someone who has relied on their support and having them here, like literally just getting ready. Like sometimes I will, you know, like be so frantic, so late, like I was late today, and like having my mom help me like pack up and stuff like has been super useful to have her, and it's also nice just to have like family with me whenever I need support. But I think also I need to learn how to do things on my own, and so this gave me like a chance to take that and to realize that I can't be here forever. I mean, I'm planning to return to San Diego when I'm older. Like I want to get into the pharmacy school here, but I need to explore myself first, you know?
Yeah, I get that. And you want to go over what schools you got into?
Yeah, I have the list. I can pull it up actually. But in terms of the UCs, I applied to Berkeley, Irvine, San Diego, and LA. I got into Berkeley and Irvine, and then waitlisted from San Diego and LA. I applied to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I got waitlisted, and I think I got rejected from there. I don't remember. I don't have it on here. I applied to USC, so Southern California, and I was, deferred and then accepted. And then I was accepted, sorry, this is just going to be a whole list. MCPHS and ACPHS, so Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, and then the Albany one. So those are like specifically for pharmacy. I was deferred, then rejected from Northeastern, accepted at Wisconsin-Madison, accepted to SDSU, and accepted to USD, so University of San Diego. In terms of like the Ivy League-esque colleges, so like those like top colleges, right? Obviously I was accepted into Brown, got rejected from Columbia, Yale, and Johns Hopkins, and then waitlisted at yeah, so that should be the entire list. Oh, speaking, so I think that's like 17 that I named of. Don't be applying for, I would say, more than 20. Some people I know like applied like 20, 30, and that's, I mean, it's still, like the more essays and stuff you have to do, the more it drains you. And I'm gonna be honest, you do not want to go to all 20 schools. Like, you know which schools you want as you write the essays. I mean, you know, don't let the laziness get you, but if you are writing the essays and you're researching, like that YS essay should be the first thing you do. I really wanted to go somewhere where the research would have stuff about opioids, because that's what I am interested in. So I didn't find anything on Harvard that like stuck out to me. Anything that, I don't know, it just wasn't the vibe. So I took that off my list. And, you know, like just the less colleges you apply to, obviously the less chance you have of getting into a college, because like duh, right? But also, like, you should know if you want to go to that school or not. And obviously things change, so you know, have some, and you're gonna hear this all the time, you want some safety, some targets, some reaches, a good, like, you know, spread so that you can, you know, maximize your chances of getting into a college, but not necessarily just only into a college, but the college that you would want. So, yeah.
Good. Okay, so why did you choose Brown?
Oh, okay. So, first off, like, I mean, financial aid, because their financial aid is a lot higher than what I would have gotten at the UCs. So, like, why not go? They have the like Ivy League name, which will help with connections and like networking. Although I have heard that their alumni network isn't as like strong as it is at other schools. But yeah, like just, I mean, the financial aid, right? The campus is really pretty, and the city feels really safe too. So that's really nice. I am afraid of the snow, so I am not looking forward to the winter months because I need like 75 degrees, and like that's where I'm happy, right? Like anything of like higher or lower, yeah, not fun. But I mean, like I have this good opportunity, and I need to go and explore and like, you know, find myself, I guess. Anyway, so why not take it? You know?
Okay, so what classes, programs, internships did you take related to pharmacy?
Zero. Okay, so like pharmacy is like
I know these answers before, so I just know what's coming. So
yeah.
Like react.
By the way, we had to record this because Keshav lost the footage. I hope he doesn't see this part and doesn't want Navia to cut this out, but I'm just saying. Keshav, I love you.
I'm not gonna watch it.
That's good. That's good. I love Keshav, but Keshav, you lost the footage.
I'm not commenting on it.
In terms of the classes, I didn't take anything specifically like pharmacy related. I guess like chemistry, I took honors chemistry. I took English, because you need English to be able to, you know, like read the, most everyone should take English as like, just like a pet peeve of mine, the inability to communicate makes me want to implode. But I took stats over the summer, which is also helpful because, like, you know, like drug trials, you'll need to know what those numbers and stuff mean, and like whether or not a experiment is actually an experiment and not an observational study. Which, if you guys want to ask me about the Porter and Jick letter, I can talk more about that. I have a long ramble about it. But yeah, so I took all the advanced classes and like everything, but they were like mostly the core classes, right? So like your math, English, history, science, like I took those advanced, like the highest difficulty. In terms of my electives, I didn't opt for a like 5.0 GPA because obviously I stayed in RO. And with the other electives, I had choir for a year. I took mostly psychology classes. I am taking anatomy and physiology this year as like my elective. I guess most of my classes are elective, right? Other than English and poli-sci.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like the core class, that would be like physics, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, like the previous 3 years, I've done psychology because it's something that interests me. And I guess this is something, just a broad general thing to say, you can do a lot of different careers with varying degrees. So you don't necessarily need a chemistry degree to be a pharmacist. A lot of people go in with English or psychology majors as well. So yeah, let's see, I had a train of thought and then I lost it. But yeah, so in terms of internships, what I did was not much. The only internship I had was for like, I'd say like 8 months, and it was through the child developmental class. So I went and essentially TA for a group of first graders. So not related to pharmacy at all, but all of my extracurriculars and interests like mainly revolved around RO and occasionally like Girl Scouts, and that's mostly it. But yeah. I do tutor now, starting this year because I got a car, I learned how to drive, so I tutor a 6th grader in math, and then I tutor in chemistry for Honor Scouts. Yeah.
Fancy. Yeah, I guess this kind of goes into the next question. But do you have any other extracurriculars?
I don't do much in Girl Scouts. Like I really wanted to get my Gold Award because not a lot of people get it. And that would require me to devise, like, first acknowledge and recognize an issue, then devise a plan to fix that issue, or at least like work towards fixing that issue, and then to implement it. But I couldn't find an issue that really interested me, and so I didn't have the passion to really do it. So that I am a little sad about, but yeah, I think a lot of, and you'll hear this from a lot of like college advisors, they will tell you find a passion project, and find something that really, you know, just sticks with you. For me, I really like RO. I like leadership. I like being able to have an impact on others and like let them have an impact on me. And I like that people side of it. So I stayed in RO because it was like a passion for me. And so I think that conveyed well through my application. So I think just go for what you're interested in, because as long as you can, stats are one thing, but as long as you can make yourself a person in your applications, I think that is probably going to be like the #1 thing in your favor. Also, I don't know where to put this, but I just remembered I forgot to talk about the open curriculum at Brown. That was another reason why that was another reason why I chose to go to Brown, because I am a STEM person, but my heart, I'm sorry to admit, to all the STEM people, but lies with the humanities. So I want to be able to explore English, mostly poetry. Like I really like writing poetry. I was working on one like yesterday, right? So having that like essentially like human side that I've been talking about, right? So that I don't just die, like drown in all the STEM work. That flexibility is something that Brown offers, and that's why ultimately I chose it. So yeah.
This is funny. Are you still able to get a healthy amount of sleep with everything that you do?
So on Saturday, I actually slept for 4 hours, So no, yeah, because I stayed up working on worksheets for my tutoring job, right? So I made the worksheets, and I'm sorry to the person I was tutoring because there were still mistakes on it. She caught it, which I love her for it. Yeah, so she's like, this number doesn't look right. I'm like, you're right, it doesn't. So don't stay up till 4 a.m. guys, don't do it. But no, because I don't think that I have really learned until like now how to manage my time. And even then I'm still struggling, right? Because like, and I feel like this is true for everyone, like you start 6th grade and then you don't really process that you're now a middle schooler until like March, and then you are now a 7th grader. So that's kind of how it feels like to me. Like I always feel like I'm trying to catch up. That's probably not true for a lot of other people, but for me that's how it is. So it's been difficult. I also don't have a lot of like limitations on like my curfew or anything. Obviously like my parents don't let me like stay out, but like I can stay up for a long time, so I don't have a structure that like restricts me from staying up and continually working. So it's been difficult, but I feel like just the more you try, the more you get better at. Have like friends who will help motivate you to study, to go to sleep, or whatever, right? Like, if you are not someone who has that internal motivation, then find external motivation. Find something that works for you.
Sounds good. So, how do you balance your relationships, academics, extracurriculars, everything else you do?
You try your best. So, this is a really difficult question to answer actually, but I think just realizing like what has to be prioritized at a certain time, because sometimes like with RO stuff, there's things that have to be planned like right now, and I can't put that off. Like we're having the awards banquet coming up soon, right? Actually like next week. So that's not something that I can push off in order to prioritize like hanging out with my friends. And you know, I still need to keep up with my schoolwork, but I'm not going to be like, I'm sorry, Mr. Penn. I'm not going to be reading my English book like for my book club when I have things that are like impacting my grades, and like things that have like specific deadlines like right now. That being said, don't push them off for too long. Whenever I have free time, I still pick up that book and I still read it.
Okay, so your next question. If there isn't always a way to balance all your priorities, do you have to like prioritize one and leave the rest to the dust?
This is a very nuanced question. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So there are times where I actually like definitely have to say no, right? Like I wanted to hang out with my friends this weekend, but I also knew that it was the first Saturday I had to myself, because otherwise, or all the other Saturdays I had been tutoring. So this was the first time I wasn't working and I'm behind on my calculus like courses. So no, I can't hang out, I have to do like this work. And it's difficult, but there are times where you have to like realize that some things are better fixed now than if you put it off later. Sometimes if I have disagreements with my friends and they can be fixed, I will take the time, and I hate leaving things unfinished. So I guess this helps, but I make sure that I set aside like an hour or 2 hours, or even disagreements with my family, to work with them. And I always have this like nagging feeling in the back of my head, like, oh, you're not doing work, but this is work. Like, your relationships are going to be some of the most important things in your life. Relationships and connections will help you get into jobs, for example, but more importantly, they help keep you sane. So I don't know, I don't think you can be happy unless you have a good, at least one good relationship with other people. More like 2 or 3 at the bare minimum, because you need a support system. You can't always be relying on just one person, right? So knowing when things require you to put in more energy, like immediately, and drop the other things, and to rearrange your schedules. And also, I guess this is kind of just sort of a life tip. I think more people need to be vulnerable because there's just a lot of things that people leave unsaid, and sometimes directly acknowledging them, like directly saying I'm sorry or whatever, can do a lot. So the act of lowering your pride means a lot to a lot of people. So it's okay to be vulnerable, is basically what I'm saying. But I had a train of thought and then I lost it again. Yeah, just depending on what the situation is, like you have to be able to rearrange your schedules for it.
That makes sense. So how do you know you have the right priorities?
I don't know. I'm someone who follows my heart a lot. So whatever I feel like is right and is me, I guess, is what I go with. So I am someone who doesn't like missing deadlines. I don't like turning things in late. I don't like having disagreements that are unresolved. And so those, like, moral compasses, they're not really like, it's not a moral compass, but like those like pillars of my personality determine the actions that I take, because it's like you're playing a game, right? Or like controlling a helicopter, and then like you get signals of like, oh, something bad has happened with the engine or like with the rotor or whatever. So I don't know, like for me, like those help me figure out like what I consider emergencies, or like what is the word? But like bad things, what I consider to be bad things, and like things that I have to fix, and so then I go and fix them. So that's how I prioritize my time.
Okay. So what's the most important part of applying to colleges?
Oh, I would say that letting them know, and by them I mean like the people who are going to be reading your application, know who you are as a person. Because what you're getting as a admissions officer is a bunch of paper and words. And so you need to make a story out of those words and a personality and a human out of those words. They're getting a bunch of stats, a bunch of like 5.0 GPAs and like all of the presidents and valedictorians and whatever of all the schools. But essentially and ultimately, colleges want people who will boost their name. So if you can show that you are a good fit for that college, which, for example, like I don't think I necessarily would have been that great at UCSC, because I feel like their STEM people are very STEM oriented and not, they don't necessarily care that much about the humanities, as opposed to, I think, Brown, they have that open curriculum that is unique to their school, and so they want people to take advantage of it, and people who won't probably didn't get in, that's my assumption. So yeah, like if you are fit for that school and you can convey that, then you have a higher chance of getting it. And giving them a story that will allow them to back you up with when they're talking to their colleagues, because you have like regional admissions officers who read through all your stuff, and they like compile summaries of your application, which then go to like a higher committee who haven't touched your application, and all they see is the summary. If you can make the regional officer really want to vouch for you and really be able to tell that same story, as opposed to just listing off bullet points of your extracurriculars, then you just have a higher chance of that. And so I think basically from that, like from what I know, what you can do with it, like an action plan, is to really reflect over the summer of what you want in college. And a lot of people will have parental pressure, which I'm sorry about, like that's not something that you can control. But also remember that if there is a chance for you to go after what you want, then go after what you want, because this is your life. And most parents come around. Not everyone, but most parents do come around if you can prove that you have what it takes to succeed, even if it's not with like the typical STEM major that a lot of people go for, right? And knowing yourself, doing research on the schools that you're applying to, really understanding what makes you who you are, and then conveying that. I think that is probably what got me into a lot of the colleges that I applied to, was the fact that I am a reflective person, and also my energy has like dulled down a little bit from how it was earlier, but I'm someone who is very passionate, especially in my writing, so you can feel that. With Brown, they have a like 2-minute video that was just introduce yourself, and it could be whatever you wanted. And I chose a sonnet that I wrote, and I started just analyzing it. I was talking like this fast, and I'm like this, and so I tried to make it coherent, which I think I did. I couldn't analyze everything, obviously, it was a 2-minute video, but you can see how much I wanted to talk about it, and it was my own writing, and I really, really like analyzing my poems. So, I don't know, like showing that like human side of you, and I think I've emphasized this enough, but probably not enough, but that human aspect is really what makes the difference.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think is your biggest achievement that stands out from others?
This is hard. Achievement? See, and now I'm thinking about this like I would an essay, right? Because I'm like, okay, how can I like manipulate that word into my story? And that's, again, what you have to do with your essays, right? Like, listen to the prompt, but find a way to make that prompt work for you. Achievements. Well, I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is the driving thing, because for me it felt like a big achievement.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for other people, because they weren't stressed about it, it's not that big of a thing for them. It was for me. So that is one of the biggest achievements that I've had, is being able to learn how to drive despite being so afraid of it. And this is like a self-recognized achievement, but again, like me being able to reflect and journaling, and like that is something that I think a lot of people lack, is that self-awareness, that emotional connection with themselves, and which then facilitates emotional connections with other people. If you don't have that ability, then life's going to be a lot harder. And I don't know, I am someone who I like to try and understand why the other person is like they are. That doesn't necessarily mean that I will agree with their actions. I just want to understand why. You can empathize and not approve of another person's behaviors and actions, but having that like base sense of empathy will allow you to, I don't know, like your daily life will be a lot better, and the conversations and connections you make will be more fulfilling. So.
Okay, so what are some general college application tips and advice?
I have.
SAT stuff.
Oh yeah. Okay. So with the SATs, ACTs, a lot of schools are going test optional or test blind. However, that does not necessarily mean that they are completely like test blind. Like I saw a thing where I didn't realize, but this is true. Like if you got national merit, then that means you scored really high in the PSAT. And you can put national merit on your awards under the UC applications, which say they're test blind, but in saying that, like I was recognized for national merit or like something like that, right? I actually don't know the specifics because I didn't get national merit. In saying that, you are essentially saying, I got a really high PSAT score. So not everything is as blind as you think it is. So I should preface this with, I am someone who already knows the material, so I didn't need to do that much studying. I already understood, so I just needed to remember how to do things. So if that is not the case, then you'll have to do a little bit more work. But if you already understand and comprehension isn't an issue, then it may be just simply the amount of stuff that you have to remember that can feel very overwhelming. I don't think a lot of the education systems prepare you really well to remember a lot of stuff. So if you don't practice like basic math skills and what is considered basic for the SAT, then it'll be harder to retain it and to be able to recall. Like, if you didn't do addition every single day, and I gave you an addition problem, it would be difficult, right? So, those basic skills, that's what Khan Academy is for. You can click on their little things and then just do the practice problems, just 10 minutes a day. And it really just allows you to not be stressed, I think, because all you're doing is just like a bunch of practice problems for fun. You just like click on them. And allowing yourself to practice without that stress was really what was helpful for me. I'm fine in a test environment, like relatively fine. I do get a little bit of stress, like towards the end I kind of just like freeze, but for the most part, I'm fine with that. So I didn't need to practice in a test environment specifically. I just needed to know the math. So yeah, like just having that extra support with Khan Academy and just not like lenience, but empathy for yourself is, I think, probably one of the biggest things that people forget for the SATs. ACT, I didn't like do a practice exam at all. I just went straight into it after I did the SAT. So kind of to backtrack, I did the first SAT like October of my junior year, and then the second one, August of junior year. And then I took the ACT in like September, October of, did I say junior or senior year? And then same thing, like literally a month or two later, I did the ACT in junior year. So, or senior year, oh my god, my brain. But yeah, so I don't think I needed to study that much. It's basically the same thing. There is the science section, which you'll have to, you know, like practice a little more about, but yeah, I'm not someone who like is that great at science, but it is basic comprehension of graphs and things. So I think for the most part, most people are going to be okay with it. In terms of other college tips, have a trusted person read through your essays. You want someone who is able to, well, someone who knows you, someone who is able to dissect things that you might not have realized about yourself, because then that way you will present them an essay that maybe doesn't expand on who you are as a person, and then they can return and tell you, you are actually like XYZ, and I don't see that aspect of you shown in here. If you have someone who knows you, who is kind and gentle enough to give you criticism, and who you're not afraid of getting that criticism from, your essays will be able to, you know, like shine. Don't give everyone your essays, because you don't need like a million cooks in the kitchen. And don't be afraid to be vulnerable with the essays. Just again, everyone needs to not give them a sob story, but be able to really tap into who you are. Like nothing I had was a sob story. I don't have anything that would allow me to write a sob story, and I'm not going to make up like some random injury or like devastating life circumstance for an essay. I'm just going to talk about what I am and who I am and the qualities that make me unique. And you know, like something you can also do is search up the school's values. A lot of schools will like, you know, like have like, we have the Falcon Pride, right? And see what matters to them, and then find a way to incorporate that in your stories. Is there anything is there anything you specifically want to ask me? Because I don't know that I have specific like things off the top of my head that are useful. I feel like I've repeated the same things a lot.
Okay, so something I've been hearing is like some people are like, oh, I totally know what like my major is, and then some people are like, you know what, I don't know what I'm going to do, and then there's some people like, oh, I like this, and this, but those are like vastly different.
Yeah.
What would you suggest for people that are kind of like going towards a lot of different majors, or just don't know what to do, like when it comes to college?
Okay, so if you're trying to game the system, then obviously you can apply for the one that is least impacted, the major that's least impacted, because then not a lot of people will be going for that major, and then they'll want to accept you, and then you get accepted, and then you switch majors. However, a lot of schools have different regulations on what can, or like how you can switch things. So that might be difficult to do. But I would say, I don't know, like, I think if you are conflicted, then go with what makes the most sense with your heart. If I forced you to, just imagine that, right? Like, what I like to do when I have a dilemma is I assign, like, heads is, I don't know, let's say like chemistry, tails is English, and then I flip a coin. And whatever option or like outcome I get is my final outcome. That is what I have to go with. And I get English. Am I feeling relieved? Am I feeling sad? Like, do I regret that I didn't get chemistry? Then I know what I want from that, right? So if I were to force you, what would you want? What would you be feeling? That is a good way for me, at least, to figure out what I want to do. And I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of us are trying to just make money. So find whatever major it is, if that's something you are really set on, find a way to make money with that major. There's a lot of different jobs that people don't know about at all that could do really well. You know, like, could give you a lot of money, and it doesn't necessarily have to require a STEM major. So it just takes a lot of research, a lot of asking around. Take that initiative and just literally strike up conversations. A lot of people, and I have found myself victim to this, only start conversations when I want something or when I know the question or I am looking for an answer, and not necessarily just to learn. So this conversation here, like, you probably have learned a lot of things that you didn't necessarily ask a specific question about. And so I think having that like ability to go and talk to people is going to help you learn things that you didn't even realize were an option, or that you didn't know that you had a question about at all. So yeah.
Anything else you would like to say?
I have too many things that I would like to say, but I cannot think of any of them off the top of my head, just because, like, I feel like every time I record a podcast, it's like blank up here. Yeah, the camera is like right there. It's like blank up here, right? But I promise I have a brain at literally every other time. So if you guys want to contact me, Navi will be able to put like my Instagram on the in the description. So feel free to reach out, and I like talking to people. As a warning though, I do send a lot of voice messages, so just be prepared for that. I do like talking when I actually have things to say and can think. So yeah, I'm excited. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm sorry again about this podcast coming out later than expected. Sorry, what was that? So yeah, it was wonderful talking to you, and I hope that the viewers get something out of this. Bye guys!
Bye!
Hi again guys, it's Hilary. I forgot to mention this in the video, but there were a few things that I forgot to touch on. So first off is that Brown also has like no GPA really. There is not a requirement for you to take classes like with letter grades. You can, if I remember correctly, you can take as many classes as you want. S&C, that is satisfactory no credit, so essentially pass or fail, right? Or pass or no pass. If you don't pass a class, if you get like a D or like lower, or if you choose S&C and then you get no credit, it just doesn't show up on your transcript. It's not going to affect your GPA. Obviously, like, you can calculate your own GPA when you apply for things like grad school, if that's the path you want to go. But yeah, so Brown has that option. The second thing is that they do have like sort of a lottery system for the housing for the first years, or like freshmen. It's more like you fill out a questionnaire and then they will assign you a partner, and then you don't get to change until like the second or the third or so week of school. With the upperclassmen, it's like a lottery system, and then you sign up with like a group of people or something like that. I'm not too sure, but for any of you guys who want to choose your roommates, probably not the best place for you here. And then just, I don't know that I touched on this enough, but I really just want to emphasize that I don't necessarily think that I got in and I'm better than people. I don't think that at all, actually. And so I don't necessarily think that the school that you go to defines you, although it does play a big role in like who you become with your development. So if you don't get into the school you don't want to, that's completely okay. And also, I didn't think that I would get in at all. I opened Brown first assuming that like it was going to be like a throwaway just no out of the schools, the Ivies that I applied to, and that wasn't the case. So I don't necessarily think that I deserve to be here, but also I feel like I'm here for a reason, and so I just want to emphasize that whatever you choose, whatever school you get into, wherever you end up going, please make the most of it, because this is your life and you are dealt some cards, and so you have to make the best and make use of those cards. So yeah, that's all I had.